UNIA View TV with your host, Seraphim L.
UNIA View TV, this is the UNIA View TV. Anytime you see me, I'm always bridging that gap you see. From Corozal to PG, Addis Ababa to Belize City. Always in some kind of industry, always a helping up who used to be free. Always hitting up His Majesty, but on no Empress Menin is the key. I feel balance every energy. Come to set the pace and set the people free. Give thanks to the ancestors, I share to all our predecessors who paved the way and helped to make it so much better. In this time, so I and I could come and be her steppers and do the rights and make the chains and bust where all the fetters. Big up to Philip Wilson and Antonio Soberanes. A couple of we heroes when I get them proper homage. Big up to Major Roberts and Miss Gwen Lizaraga. A couple of we heroes will help make you through the saga. I share to Carl Hushna, he's Belize's greatest doctor. Another our hero got to mention in the factor. Henry Fairweather and Murphy VNC. Big up, blessed love and blessed be. Big up to Mr. Peters and Miss Leela Vernon. A couple of we legends when we come to bless the sermon. Big up to Andy P and Mr. Paul Namor. And here's to all we heroes as we know them anymore. UNIA View TV, this is the UNIA View TV. Every time you see me, I'm always bridging that gap you see. From Corozal to PG, Addis Ababa to Belize City. Always in some kind of industry, always a helping up the used to be free. UNIA TV with your host, Seraphim L. This is the UNIA View you see. Bridging the gap from Belize to Africa, Africa to Belize. Land of the gods with the cool breeze. Peace, that your art to represent. UNIA View TV with your host, Seraphim L. This is the I, Rasta Art, to represent.
UNIA View TV.
Mile 41.
Representing for Face It Production.
UNIA View TV. Rastafari.
Yes, sir.
This is UNIA View TV, featuring Isiah Morta, a son of the soil, narrated by Iyabinghi Ma'at. Isiah Morta was a son of the soil, born in the Freetown district of Belize to impoverished parents. His godfather, one old Soden, a member of the thrift, industrial, and relatively wealthy community of African descent, provided young Isiah Morta with a dory and a piece of land on which to grow bananas. By hard work and diligence, he made a success of his plantation and acquired other lands and the offshore island of Key Chapel, where he cultivated coconuts on a large scale. Isiah Morta's increasingly successful coconut venture greatly pleased his godfather Old Soden, who marked his pleasure by leaving Isiah a considerable fortune in cash, which he used to purchase extensive property in the capital. Now wealthy, Isiah retired to Belize City, where he became a familiar figure, often with a large cigar clenched between his teeth, giving rise to his nickname Guinea Cigar. His wealth established him to marry, which he did twice. The first union to one Jane King ended tragically when Mrs. Morter received fatal injuries after falling from a carriage. His second marriage to Elizabeth Longsworth was unhappy and ended in separation. In the evening of life, Isiah Morta became a stalwart member and supporter of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, UNIA, founded by Marcus Garvey. He became very friendly with Garvey and fully supportive of Garvey's endeavors to improve the lot of the Negro and encourage the return to Africa. Garvey awarded to Morta a UNIA honor, the honor of Knight Commander of the Distinguished Order of Ethiopia, and a trip to New York where Garvey secured medical attention for an ailing Morta. By 1922, his health was so bad that Garvey provided Morta with a Trinidadian aide, one Nurse Lawrence, who took care of Morta until his death in 1924. A reading from the Philosophy and Opinions of Marcus Garvey, or Africa for the Africans, first published in 1923 and 1925. April 29, 1924. Sir Isiah Morta, Knight Commander of the Distinguished Service Order of Ethiopia, another Prince of Africa, has fallen. He, to us as a race, is physically dead, but spiritually, to us, he lives. It is not every man who cometh into the world who lives forever. The absence of the millions who pass away is never generally observed, because their deeds for the good of humanity, their race, and their nation were never registered. And oft times no attempt was made to serve any but themselves. But not so with Isiah Emmanuel Morta of Belize, British Honduras, Central America. He was a Negro of lowly parentage who grew up fighting the oppositions and difficulties generally surrounding one born to his condition until he lifted himself to the highest pinnacle of service to his race and to his country. In his mature years, after he had honestly accumulated a fair portion of wealth, which he worked for and thriftily secured, he became identified with movements for the uplift of his race. Notably among them, the Universal Negro Improvement Association, of which he was a staunch member and supporter. He, unlike the majority of Negroes who accumulate wealth, did not seek to find associations socially and otherwise among other races, but he was satisfied to confine his success to his race and give his race credit for everything that he accomplished. Most West Indian and Central American Negroes, whenever they accumulate wealth, generally seek to dissipate it either by marriage into the white race or by fawning before the social patronage of that race, which generally seeks rather to deprive them of their wealth than to accept them as social equals and members of their fraternity. Sir Isiah Morta was true to his race and has written his name down as the first of that successful type of Negro who did not forget Africa and its relationship to the rest of the Negroes throughout the world. Not very long ago, Sir Isiah Morta came to New York for the benefit of his health, and the writer had the honor of entertaining him at his home, where he remained a guest for several weeks. It was during the period when the Universal Negro Improvement Association was being haunted by its enemies in the height of the trial of the celebrated Black Star Line case. The injustices done to the association and the subject of the enemy's design were so marked that Sir Isiah Morta felt, as all Negroes did who read and followed the case, that it was not a fight against an individual, but a fight against the race. He became even more impressed then with the work and usefulness of the Universal Negro Improvement Association than he was before. Unfortunately, his health continued failing him, even though he experienced a marked improvement during his stay in America. He returned to Belize, his native home, and there he lingered for several months until the Grim Reaper death visited him on the 7th instant. His memory lives among the members of the Universal Negro Improvement Association and the Negro race forever. Prior to his death, nothing in the world was as dear to him as the principles of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, and as a proof of his attachment to the movement and his desire to help it, he has become the first great benefactor of the cause of African redemption. In his will, he bequeathed to the Universal Negro Improvement Association for African redemption nearly 2/3 of his entire fortune, to the extent of between $75,000 and $100,000. This is the first large bequest that has been given to the association. It is a fair indication of the loyalty of the members of this great movement. If other Negroes in America and the West Indies will follow the example of Sir Isiah Morta in assisting to make the Universal Negro Improvement Association what it ought to be, then in a few years not only will Africa be redeemed, but the whole Negro race will be elevated to a position of world recognition. Formerly, Negroes were disposed to die and leave their fortunes for white friends and white institutions, and some died without making wills at all, their fortunes going to the state. Billions of dollars have been lost to the Negro race within the last 50 years through disloyalty on the part of successful Negroes, who have preferred to give away their fortunes to members of other races than to bequeath them to worthy institutions and movements of their own to help their own people. Sir Isiah Morta has set a wonderful example, and Africa shall not forget him. Surely the Universal Negro Improvement Association shall carry his name down the ages. Shall we not build monuments in Africa to the memory of Isiah Emmanuel Morta? Shall we not pay honor and respect to him for lending help and assistance to the cause when it needed such assistance? $50 or more $100,000 given to the Universal Negro Improvement Association at this time will help to accomplish much. And now that we are about to assist in building up the Republic of Liberia, this money can be usefully applied in helping the colonists to establish themselves. In his will, Isiah Morta left the bulk of his estate, some $100,000 in property, to the UNIA of New York for the Fund for African Redemption. This will was bitterly contested by the family. The UNIA was said to be espoused to an illegal cause, quote, to wit the redemption of Africa, end quote. The legal impasse continued until 1939, 15 years during which legal and other costs had greatly reduced to some available. The inheritor being Lionel Antonio Francis, a Trinidadian physician who had been one of Garvey's chief lieutenants, but who by this time was the sole member of the Universal Negro Improvement Association of New York. Francis came to live in Belize and was drowned in the 1961 hurricane. A reading from the Super Cream, Friday, November 1, 1985. Garvey's Universal Negro Improvement Association, UNIA, spread to New York, the rest of the Caribbean, and Central America, including British and Spanish Honduras. Everywhere Garvey went, he built a Liberty Hall for the use of black people, and it is as a result of his visit to this city that the Liberty Hall on Barracks Road, opposite the Sancas Hospital, was built. A local black mahogany contractor, Sir Isiah Morta, on his death in 1924, left a substantial legacy, including the now famous Key Chapel for the British Honduras chapter of the UNIA. Morta donated the property for and helped to build the Belize City Liberty Hall. We must be committed to work together to combat inequality, poverty, and social exclusion through cooperation and the exchange of experiences. To this end, we reaffirm our determination to implement a vigorous social, economic, and political agenda in line with internationally agreed commitments. Garveyism can guide us to establish activities that encourage all people of African descent to uphold our African history and culture. We must use the fundamentals enshrined in international instruments such as the Durban Resolutions from the Durban Conference held in 2002 and the Treaty of Indigenous Peoples signed in 2007. We must never stop condemning the violence and intolerance against people of African ancestry. We must recognize that people in so-called multicultural, so-called multiracial societies and in so-called democratic states are experiencing a multitude of difficulties because of disrespect and neglect of equal rights and responsibilities for all. Quote, the worst people to serve are the ignorant people. Give them free, they think it's a trap. Tell them it's a small investment, they'll say you can't earn much. Tell them to come in big, they'll say no money. Tell them try new things, they'll say no experience. Tell them it's traditional business, they'll say it's hard to do. Tell them it's a new business model, they'll say it won't work. Tell them to run a shop, they'll say no freedom. Tell them to run new business, they say no expertise.
Yes, my brother, we're in front of Isiah, Sir Isiah Emmanuel Morta statue. He's a Belizean hero, and we're here to address Isiah Morta status in Belize City. I have a brother here, he's going to give you a little information. My brother, what do you know about Isiah Morta?
Well, as far as I know and history tells you, as you can see, they have his statue right here for remembrance of him because he was one of Belize's first wealthy, or what we would call today rich, black man in the past. And by doing so, he made that fortune by exporting coconuts. He was interested in that when he found out that he could make money from exporting coconuts. So that's the way he got his wealth. And like I said, he was the first wealthy black man here in Belize.
Late 1800, early 1900.
Exactly. Yes, sir.
He was also a part of the UNIA,
Okay.
Garveyism movement.
All right.
Yes, sir. And your name?
My name is Brian Valdores.
All right. Thank you very much, my brother. Respect in all aspects.
Yes, sir.
This is the Lion View TV. I am your host, Seraphim L. Dedicated this one to our great honorable Ras Isiah Emmanuel Morta. Please, Belize, take heed. I see in it. Have confidence. Believe it or not. That's a fact. Oh, Isiah Morta. Oh, Isiah Morta. Who they deny. To reveal I Morta. Who they have forgotten. Forgotten in between the history page of the streets of Belize. Liberty Hall, Key Chapel, part of his temple. It's still a part of him. So open in the doors and let I come in. Oh, Emmanuel calling. Oh, Emmanuel calling. Let it happen. Isiah calling. Isiah calling. Morta calling. Morta calling. Let's just sing. His name is ringing, ringing. He is risen, blowing, telling us something. He's more than a martyr. All the people he gathered and captured, Knight Commander of the Distinguished Service of Ethiopian Order. He's the Crown King, King of Coconut in history, in the Empire of Belize. From he traveled on to the seas, playing of I ritually, black style liner, people start believing that the king could bring the best thing out of Belize. Greatest release, oh Emmanuel calling, oh Emmanuel calling, Isiah calling, Emmanuel Morta warning. He was a Universal Negro Improvement Association, member of one of the highest degree. Millions of dollars spent to make things better for we. Better for we. But I never see where it went. When he took a ritual flight and went to Zion Hill to be I Morta, he was a mortal. He was blessed by the Father to grow coconut tree yet. So this day is a tribute to the great Ras Emmanuel, Isiah Morta calling, Isiah Emmanuel calling, Morta calling, sent to the people of pure warning. Black Star Liner is calling and waiting. Give thanks to the Honorable Ras Emmanuel Morta. Honorable Ras Isiah Emmanuel Morta. Give thanks to the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey to send the prophet priest and tell about the coming king. Rastafari, Ababa Janai, blessed be. Lion View TV. Isiah Morta has been deliberately forgotten by the local historians and the colonial of British Honduras, which is Belize now, crippling and smash the UNIA here with no one to tell the tale. That was the ending of 1900. But I here, I View TV is telling the historical history of our ancestral, ancient one that paved the way for I to recognize that we are the royal prodigal sons and daughters of Ethiopia. This is the largest surviving arm of the UNIA was the Black Cross nurse, which has been the feud since the death of Nurse Vivian Seas and the old age of Nurse Cleopatra White. So that will be another story for another series, and Cleopatra White and Nurse Vivian C. So I want you to know that all these people was part of the UNIA, United Negro Improvement Association, indigenous people of the land of Belize. We are the ones that cultivate and promote productivity. And this is the south side of Belize, which he was also Igbo. Igbo represent Israel, Israelites. So we in a Igbo town on the south side of Belize. Isiah Morta statue. Respect, and salute to I prophet, priest, king. Isiah Emmanuel Morta, born to Igbo African parents in the mid-1860s. Isiah Emmanuel Morta would grow up to be the country's first black millionaire. Isiah was born to a free black as a young man. His godfather granted him tracts of lands for growing banana that would bring his fortune. Eventually, Isiah would acquire enough land to purchase Key Chapel. On that small island, he grew to export enough coconut to grow his fortune and earn little coconut tree. As an adult, he was an advocate supporter of the United Negro Improvement Association, an organization founded by Marcus Garvey in 1914. You're listening here live and direct on UNIA View TV with your host Seraphim L.
See of this, along with Marcus Mosiah Garvey, that they designed this, and they came here in 1923. So you know how old this building is?
Over 100 years.
All right, calculate it, right? Right? People are just backbiters right now and scavengers.
UNIA View TV, this is Liberty Hall on Barracks Road. This is what Liberty Hall looks like right now in Belize City. We need to establish and refurbish the place. UNIA View TV with your host Seraphim L. This is a new segment honoring our honorable. This is a tribute to our Sir Isiah Emmanuel Morta of Belize. Sir Emmanuel Morta, a Knight Commander of the Distinguished Service of Order of Ethiopia. Another Prince of Africa has risen from that time to this time and forevermore. He, to us as a race, is physically dead, but spiritually, to us, he is lived. It is not every man who comes into the world who live forever. The absence of millions who passed away is generally never observed because their deeds for the good humanity, their race and their nations were never registered. And oftentimes no attempt was made to serve any but themselves. But not so with Isiah Emmanuel Morta of Belize, British Honduras, that time, Central America. He was a Negro of lowly prestige who grew up fighting the depression, and oppressions of difficult and generally surrounded one born to this or to his condition until he lifted himself to the highest pinnacle of service to his race and to his country, Belize. In his mature years after he has honorably accumulated a far position of wealth, which he worked for, a thrifty, secured, he became identified with movements for the uplift of his race. Isiah Emmanuel Morta was part of the UNIA, United Negro Improvement Association. One God, one aim, one destiny. Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, in 1914, organized the Universal Negro Improvement Association, arrived in the United States in 1917, speaking on the streets of Harlem. Garvey began enlisting members into the movement. The organizational effects of the UNIA soon compasses by 1921 6 million members with over 900 chapters throughout the world. These chapters include location in 38 of the United States and 42 countries on the 4 continents. Sir Emmanuel Isiah Morta was a part of the UNIA. Listicle of the UNIA combined culture, religion, economic nationalism. Economic nationalism was observed in the UNIA development of the multi-million-dollar business enterprise, which include the Black Star Liner, Shipping Line, Negro Factories Corporation, Universal Restaurants, and our great Emmanuel Isiah Morta, which was the Coconut King of Central America, one of the richest person to accumulate the amount of wealth in that time. Give thanks for our ancestors to encourage and pave the way for I and I in this time. The UNIA had Liberty Hall, as we had Liberty Hall at Barracks Road. This is Belizean Liberty Hall, and you have Liberty Hall throughout the world, such as places as Cuba, Panama, Trinidad, Costa Rica, Canada, South Africa, Colombia, Dominican Republic, Guatemala, Nicaragua, Barbados, Mexico, England, Gold Coast, Liberia, Bahamas, and the list goes on. Haiti, Puerto Rico, St. Thomas, St. Lucia, Venezuela. All these places had Garveyites, and they had a Liberty Hall that was established through the UNIA. Isiah Morta has been deliberately forgotten by the local historians and the colonials of British Honduras. Tried to cripple and smash the UNIA here with no one to tell the tale. Well, Lion View TV is here to restore and uphold the dignity. Has been deliberately forgotten by local historians and colonials of British Honduras, trying to cripple and smash the UNIA here with no one to tell the tale. But Lion View TV is acknowledging our patriarchs, our prophets, our ancestors that paved the way, to let us know that we can be self-reliant in this time. And with the UNIA in Belize, we had Black Cross nurses, which was part of the movements. The Black Cross nurse, which has been here in Belize for such a time. We have Nurse Vivian C. and Nurse Cleopatra White, as we have a clinic in Belize City named after Cleopatra White. That will be a story episode for another story next time. So we give thanks for Honorable Emmanuel Isiah Morta. Blessed.
Garveyism.
This is Isiah My View TV. Anytime you see me, I'm always bridging that gap you see. From Corozal to PG, Addis Ababa to Belize City.